hear from the coach first.
It's the best place in the world to play football.
This is the Pete Carroll Preview, presented by Pizza Hut. Here's your host, Steve Raible.
Pete, thanks again for joining us on this Friday morning. I know you're right in the middle of all your preparations for the game in Minnesota coming up on Sunday, but if I could, I just want to go back for 1 second because you talk about it a fair amount, and I just kind of, without going into too many details probably, but what was Tell the Truth Monday like this past Monday?
Well, it was really important to get to it, because there's, in a game like that, there's a lot of plays in there, a lot of stuff that people could have done, that they would love to have done in the game, and we would love to have called in the game and things. So there's a lot of guys that had a lot of feelings about it, and we just needed to get centered. And it really came down to that we had made too many decisions after the play that hurt us, and it really felt like it was such an even game as it was. Had we not, fallen into 75 yards of penalties in those 5 plays, I think it would have been a big difference in the game. And all of it was aggressive. All of it was being,
right,
trying to make something happen and all that. And that's why right off the bat, I take the credit for some of that, because if it involves the whole team, then I got them riled up to a point where we're not as functioning as clearly as we need to, and we need to get better. So it's an easy area to get better at, and really easy to focus on doing that too. Now we got to show it, and we have to make the right decisions at the right time.
Right. I know you have officials very often at practice to keep an eye on these things. Do they look for things now like taunting and all that kind of thing at practice?
Yeah, but we have not made a taunting call in practice with our officials yet. It's something that it might be important, because we have to practice how to react, because this is a reaction that happens, in the fit of rage of what just occurred, and that needs to be controlled. And so we've always said, you want to celebrate with your teammates, but sometimes there's nobody around you. It's like what happened in the game, and the only factor there is somebody else, and so sometimes you just can't turn it towards the opponent, and that's what the rules are, and we have to abide by it.
Right. Well, I know that I about lost my mind in the booth. I couldn't believe they made that call, but nobody cares what I think. So I agree with. I agree with what
some of us may.
may. Thanks. Hey, since you and Russ have been partnering in this sojourn that you call the Seattle Seahawks season, you guys have won 80% of your games after an in-season loss, and that's the best since the 1970 merger. So whatever it is you guys are doing, seeing what you've done in a loss, you're making it work right the following week, and I expect you're working toward that this week.
Yeah, I really think that there's a tactic to that, and that's approaching every game like it's the biggest game that you got, and it's also approaching the result of whatever happened in that game in the same fashion, and that the most important thing is to let it go and to get on to the next thing. And that's where the discipline it takes to find the consistency to return to balance after the event that you just took place, whether it's a great win or it's an enormous loss, whatever. It's all the same in that it factors into your focus and can affect your play. So we've worked really hard to be uncommonly consistent about the way we follow up the preparation building towards the next week, and we don't have rivals. We don't have games that are bigger than others. When it's Monday night or Thursday night or Sunday night or whatever it is, that doesn't matter to us. And we've worked really hard to be disciplined about that so that we can perform like we're capable, regardless of what the circumstances are and the outcomes that just happened or the future that may be. And so, and in that, we're trying to get ready for the biggest game of the year when you're playing in the Super Bowl. It's going to be, you get there, and it's the biggest event in the world, and you want to make sure that you function like you're capable. And so we're practicing for that eventuality, throughout, and it takes time to get disciplined to do that well.
Right. You go back to Minnesota, you're playing an 0-2 Vikings team. If ever there was a desperate team, and this is their home opener coming. I don't need to tell you all this. You know this.
Right.
I'm sorry to remind you. The strengths of this team, they look a lot like your team, as a matter of fact. They want to run the football, but they have great balance with their passing game.
Yeah, they really have all of the elements. They're really well-equipped offensively. The receivers are good. The quarterback is playing great. The tailback is really a multifaceted guy that running game, throw game, all that kind of stuff, big play, can run inside. They have a really nice scheme, too. We have a lot of respect for the choices that they make in their game planning, that we've seen over the years. So, and Mike Zimmer is a fantastic defensive coach and has always proven that. And, again, they're a really good third-down team on D, and it's just a really well-coached, well-balanced football team that just hasn't got their win yet, and so we just don't want it to happen yet.
What did you take from the Vikings working for guys like Bud Grant and Jerry Burns and those guys?
Yeah, they're really. I was asked that earlier in the week. They said, "What's the one thing you took from Bud Grant?" Well, there was no one thing. There was a lot of stuff, and just to be in their organization, they had been together for so long. Jerry and Bud were together at least 19, 20 years, something like that. One thing that was stood out so strongly with him was his ability to observe. He could anticipate. He could project things to happen. He called some shots, in games, and at other times, he would be able to call how things were gonna go. He had just great sense about stuff, and so, to try to draw from that and try to, be a better observer and listener and communicator really with that information was really the thing that I would like to continue to work on, and try to be more in the vein that he was able to be. Just to give you a quick, maybe we don't have time for this, but I'll give you a quick story.
We got time.
We're playing the Niners, and they're coming off the Super Bowl. It was the opening game of the year, and they have great teams with Montana and all the guys, and Coach Walsh and the whole thing. And the night before the game, Bud said that these guys have been ahead in a lot of games. They've won easy all. They have not had very many tough games. If we can just be close in the fourth quarter, we might be able to take these guys. And sure enough, as the game turned out, it goes down to the end of the game, and we're in the game. We're within a couple points, and we scored, and we might have gone ahead, and we're kicking off. And Bud says, "Kick it to number 26." He gets in the huddle of the kickoff team. He says, "Kick it to 26. He's going to fumble." And so, sure enough, we kicked the ball. I think it was Harry Sidney or something like that was the guy. Kicked the ball to him. He comes running back, and he didn't just fumble. That ball came projectiling out towards the 50-yard line, and everybody scrambles on it, and we get the ball at the 50, and we're able to put the game away. And it was just one of those moments, like, how would he do that? How would he even call it that way, But he didn't just call it who to kick it to. It all happened, and we did win the game, and it was amazing. It was just, that was the first game that I was with Bud. So that's where it started, so pretty amazing.
The thing that I'll remember about Bud Grant was our playoff game back there a couple of years, 4 or 5 years ago now. And it was as cold a day as I ever remember. And Bud was in shirt sleeves for the toss of the coin, for heaven's sakes.
I know. He was such a stud. He just wanted to make everybody feel bad that he could do that. He was 90 years old or something when he did it.
Yes, he's 94 years old. Yeah. Well, I hope he's around that you can get a chance to shake his hand on the field come Sunday. But, Pete, best of luck against the Vikings. It is, I don't have to tell you, a big game, and I know you guys are going to be ready. We appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Rabe. See you there.
Touchdown, Seahawks!
The Pete Carroll Preview on Seattle's Morning News has been brought to you by Pizza Hut. Catch the game right here on KIRO Radio 97.3 FM, your home for the Hawks.
Holy catfish!